Wow. Talk about drama. So I've just been on the phone with Vince. He's got a Google Chrome problem. So we need the Google Chrome guys. Are there any Google Chrome guys in Australia? So Vince is just rebooting his PC as we go, as we start, and he'll be with us very, very shortly. So the run of the flow. Hold on. Ha ha. I think you might be in luck.
Yay! Sorry about that, mate. This is this platform doesn't work with Safari. I've had to go and grab another computer, and here I am live.
Mate, can I just tell you? I was just putting a shout out to the Google guys to come and help you.
And I'm good. No help required. I'm a technical genius.
Mate, thanks for joining us. You're looking very sharp today. Bloody hell, I love that jacket.
Oh, thanks very much, mate.
Big fan of that.
These days you only get dressed up when you do Zooms. Normally I'd be in my jammies most of the day. Have you done any
of these LinkedIn lives before? Because I have no agenda. I have no questions. The only thing I've done is raise 150k for Starlight. That's it. I've got no.
No, but I've got a big thing on LinkedIn, but I've never really used it, to be honest. So hello, LinkedIn. We're LinkedIn.
But I tell you, I've watched you God knows how many times, half drunk most of the time at the table at some function. I think the last time was with Shane Barr, our mate Shane Barr, and I got to say thank you to him for putting us in touch with you. And I think the last time I was very drunk at a function, I think you were emceeing it, and we were having a great time with Shane and Kath and the kids and stuff. And that was the last time I think I caught up with you. I think it was the Marble Bar or the Hilton or somewhere.
Oh, that would be the rugby pink lunch, the breast cancer lunch. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, very good cause. Cause I do every year, and excellent. Well, it's always before a big test match, and it's usually on a Friday afternoon at the Hilton. But got not too many test matches going on this year, so they've cancelled as well. So many charities have cancelled this year. It's quite alarming. Like apart from all the terrible stories going on in the general community, charities are doing it really tough. So it's fantastic that you're hanging in there, buddy, and still making some money. It's really good. Here's to you.
I tell you what, I'm going to bring in Elle from the Starlight and probably Paul actually at the same time, because where are they? These two people. So this guy on the bottom left here is Paul Keane, and Paul is on the state advisory board of Starlight, and it was his fault. Tap him on the head. Where are you? It was his fault that I actually set this thing up. Paul called me one day and said, I love what meetmagic is doing. Go and have a chat with Matt. And then 6 or 8 months later, here we are, and we've just done that.
Oh, well done, Elle.
I told my wife to look up meetmagic, and I think she typed in MEAT, so she was on some porn site for most of them.
I'll have to go in my private browser mode to have a look.
I get that a lot, actually, though, Paul. People say, well, what is it, a dating site? And in actual fact, it is a little bit like a dating site, because we're matching people, which is really, really cool, and it's all curated. Elle, I mean, I've given Vince a very brief overview. Give us the Starlight story, because I've been to a few of the Starlight functions. The CEO function was the last one where Louise got up and told a story about the kids and the impact that just having an hour in that room means to the kids.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it? So the Starlight Children's Foundation exists purely to brighten the lives of seriously ill children and their families. And you guys are supporting one of our amazing programs, which is our in-hospital program of Captain Starlight and our Starlight Express rooms. So Captain Starlight is a superhero who comes down from Planet Starlight every single day to paediatric hospitals right across Australia and gets to facilitate an amazing room called the Starlight Express room. So in that room, kids can come in and play and do activities and sit with their family and friends. And of course, at the moment, that's not a thing. But lucky we've got these guys, and these are the Captain Starlights that are still going out and visiting hospital wards, that are still creating amazing live stream television all day, every day, doing quizzes, delivering craft packs and surprise packs. So as you said, Vince, charities are doing it really tough, but I do want to assure everybody that the Captain Starlights and the Starlight Children Foundation are still where we need to be at the moment, and that is in with those kids in those hospitals across Australia, making them happy and remembering that they're still kids, and even though there's all this going on, there's still time for joy and happiness.
Do you know what, Elle?
How does the social distancing work with the kids? Are they allowed to sort of get near the kids? And
no, so we're very good. We work in hospitals all the time, and we deal with people with infectious issues all the time. So the Captain Starlights are very worded up on social distancing and where is appropriate to stand inside someone's room. Quite often as a captain, even before all this happened, we could only entertain kids through a glass window. So we're very good, or the Captain Starlights are very good at making fun happen even with a distance, whether it be physical, or otherwise. So we've got it covered.
How are you coping, Vince, with physical? I mean, you're a stay-at-home dad, right? You got 4 kids. What's that like?
A lot about prime numbers in the French Revolution in the last few weeks, and but my wife is very strict on the social distancing in every room, including the bedroom. I might add. She's got the Harvey Norman approach. No interest for 6 months.
See, there's an added bonus somewhere, isn't there, for people?
Yeah, for her.
Yeah, it's really. So,
I really enjoyed the time at home. It's this living off the government thing is not a bad idea. You know, I've got the JobKeeper going, and I'm spending a lot of time with the kids, and I'm better off than most. But I could really get used to this. So I'm thinking I might just join that social welfare group. I don't want to be a dull bludger, but gee, I could really slip into this.
Did you get out and hustle a few toilet rolls, Vince?
It wasn't that mad. The social distancing really benefited from people not having enough toilet paper. There's no way I'm shaking anyone's hand around that time for sure. But all the stuff was hard to find. Toilet paper and food and all the good stuff went first. Of course, the meat and the mince and the prime cuts and the pasta and the flour. But there was plenty of vegan patties available. No one was hoarding tofu and that kind of stuff.
The greatest benefit is
toilet paper.
The greatest benefit is you had an excuse to not go to the gym as well. It's like, it's closed. There's nothing I can do.
Well, if you were single, the only way you can meet someone these days is, well, a couple of weeks ago, we could only have groups of 2, was to go for a walk with them or exercise with them. As if it's not hard enough chatting up someone you're dating, and you've got to do it while you're doing sit-ups. It's like, how you going? And excuse me while I throw up. I'd hate to be single around this time.
Yeah, big time. I'm single. It's not nice.
Well, no, I better not go there.
Don't do it, Vince. Keep it PG. Keep it PG.
Yeah, but so the whole point of today, Vince, is, and thanks for coming on, is to help us try and get some execs to give us some time. And Shane Barr did give me a question to ask you, and I really can't ask it because it was just such a. I actually asked the team this morning if I could say it, and they just went, "No, do not dare ask that question." So, well, it was around what's the no, I can't. I really. It's,
now I'm trying to know, what is it?
I can't. If Shane Barr has to put it in the comments, and then I can answer it, because if I ask it, it's just going to be. I can't. No, it was. No, I'm not. No, it's really bad. So the whole point.
I have to call him to find out what it was.
We're going to have to. But the whole point about this was to try and get into the hearts of execs to give us 45 minutes of their time. I mean, you've been working in the corporate world for a long time, right? I mean, the corporate and the charity space has been dear to your heart. How have you seen execs getting involved easily? I mean, is there an easier way for us to do this?
Well, any way you can do it is a good way. And there's definitely been a trend over the last few years of companies looking for a way to bring goodwill into their organizations and doing things that are parallel to their normal corporate events or setup that actually benefit the community as well. It's almost every conference now has some kind of social or community theme. I've been in Fiji rebuilding schools. I've been, I've been in Outback Australia, like sort of helping out Indigenous groups. I mean, every time corporates come together, there is a general trend to try and do something positive for the community with it. I think that goodwill that it engenders is good for the company and good for me too. People sort of give you a lot of kudos all the time for for doing charity work, but God, it makes you feel good. It really does. And strangely enough, something always good happens when you give good. I don't know if it's just my it's just my way of perceiving it, but I really do believe in karma, and I really think that every time I put something out there, I benefit from it, not just from feeling good, but I actually benefit from it work-wise too. It's good for everyone.
Yeah, well, we set this up with Paul and the Starlight guys 6 or 8 months ago, and we've done it literally through, I think, from November. So we went through November, December, January, where it was the quiet period, and as you know, everyone goes off to Aspen, and they don't do anything else apart from ski during that time.
And catch the coronavirus, I might add.
And then they came back and we had the bloody bushfires. And so we've gone through all of that period. And then we've had the lockdown period with coronavirus. So these three things, and we've still managed to raise, to get, we've had 230 executives from companies like Paul. Paul was a massive supporter of ours over at Qantas. And as you know, Qantas have gone through the wars at the moment. And so we've seen execs literally from Qantas right through to Westpac, even had the Westpac CEO sign up. So we want to put a call out to as many executives as we can. We're trying to get 1,000 of them by the end of June to give us 45 minutes. That's it, just 1,000.
I think the major thing here is if you can give 45 minutes and help 18 kids have fun and laughter while they're in hospital, it's amazing. 45 minutes of your time and you've helped 18 kids without even moving from your desk if you don't want to. It's pretty.
I think the big thing for Starlight is that often, what Starlight's doing is lots of corporate events, lots of things. So all those avenues are not available to us, and they could be for quite a long time. So what we can do from home is give 45 minutes of our time, which is, we're doing this already. We already get the cold calls from the vendors. And I feel guilty ghosting those, all the things coming through. So I'm doing this anyway. I get the ability to say no if I don't think those are relevant. And I think if the vendor's wasting their time as well, I feel empowered to be able to do that. And I think one of the great things from a Starlight perspective is that, building events and all those things are really a huge amount of effort, and there's a lot of cost that goes into those. And having something like meetmagic where we can, for good, where it's repeatable, it's sustainable, and it's cost effective for the charities, it just means that the Starlight people can focus on the kids rather than focus on keeping all of us corporates entertained.
Well, this is a very cost effective way of raising money, I can tell you. I mean, if you look at the typical sort of charity event, you're going to a big ballroom, you've got anywhere from 500 to 1,200 people in a room that have to be fed, and the logistics of the whole setup, and fed and entertained and lit and what have you, and all of that has to get paid for by an organisation. So there's a lot of fat has been trimmed in this process, let me tell you.
Yeah, there's not too many businesses giving away 70% of the profit, and Meet Magic and Meetings for Good is doing that, and it's amazing. And we're really, really seeing the effects of that money coming in and enabling us to continue what we do. So
it's so beautiful.
People get on board.
Exactly. And right now, I'm going to bring in one of our clients, actually. So we've got the VP of Asia and the head of marketing for a company called Netscope, who are, Paul, you probably know this being in the tech space, they are top right-hand quadrant of the Gartner Magic Quadrant, which means they're the best on the planet at what they do. And when you hear what they got to say about the Meetings for Good, it really is quite remarkable. Paul, I'm going to have to kick you off because I can only have, I think, oh, hold on. No, I can do it. Hold on. Tony.
Hey, how are you? You need to count to 6.
Hold on. I'm trying to.
Is this going to turn into the Brady Bunch?
There we go.
Sorry, lovely lady.
So, Vince, I want you to meet Kylie. And Kylie is not Kylie Minogue, but Kylie is, she's better than Kylie Minogue. She's been one of our biggest supporters in basically giving us money, so we can connect them with people like Paul, and then we can give the money over to people like Elle. So everything on the screen here basically this is what we've done with Meetings for Good. It's right here.
It's fantastic. Obviously, you've benefited from it.
Thank you. I think so. Look, from Netscope's perspective, I have a very personal attachment to the whole Starlight Foundation and what they do through my life, and so therefore, as soon as this was presented to me, I just couldn't see how it doesn't make sense from a vendor side. We have had, and I'll let Tony talk to the actual outcomes, but as a business, we are really driven through, all of our guys and our teams and girls are driven to build relationships with people, because at the end of the day, you don't buy software, you buy relationships. And what this has enabled us to do from a marketing perspective, to me personally, would have to be the most successful campaign we've done globally. I think it's putting us in front of the right people, but it's also, it really does let us do something well, like you referenced before with the COVID pandemic and the way that the world is just closing down. This is something that we can continue to do regardless of where people are, whether they're working from home or sitting in their backyard. These executives and we as a team also really try to help push Carl and his incredible, have to say, shout out to his incredible team that make these meetings happen. We work really hard with them to try and drive more executives, to get them on board, not because it benefits us, because not all executives are looking for new, cloud security software that we sell, but because it really does help. Like they said, 45 minutes is it to help 18 of our littlest humans. And I have my own mini humans. And if, God forbid, the day ever comes that Starlight needs to step in, then you know what, I've done my bit. Tony, from your perspective?
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head. This has been game changing in the industry, I think, for vendors and end users. The epiphany came to me a couple of years ago. I'd spent 3 days at an event in Sydney. It cost us up front, I don't know, $60,000, $70,000 as a vendor, and we didn't have a big booth. We flew people in from the US. I was there 3 days. We had 7 or 8 people there. And I got back home and I met my wife in the industry 20 years ago, and she said to me, how was it? And I said, same old, stood there for 3 days. Yeah, we got a few leads, really wasn't a good use of time. She said to me, Tony, I asked you that question 20 years ago and you gave me the same answer. Why are vendors still doing this? It's nonsense. We leave those events with 100 leads. No, it was 100 badges we scanned. And now we're using money. The only people that benefited from those events were the organizers. As vendors, we rarely got our money's worth. Now we're spending our money for a good cause. 70% of not the profits, but the income are going to a charity. My team have the ability to select the end users that are relevant, the job titles that are relevant, and then those end users only meet, to Paul's point, and they only meet with vendors that they believe it makes sense. So a couple of examples is, we've all heard sales guys, I need more for marketing, I need more pipeline, I'm not getting what I need. We hear that every day, we've been hearing it for years. In the past week alone, we've had 2 of our reps email Kylie, myself, and the rest on the team saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. They're getting leads. We've had 15 meetings so far. We've got 7 opportunities, multi-million dollars worth of pipeline on the table. Yesterday alone, a 7-figure opportunity is in our hands. So the meetings, we haven't had a bad meeting. And again, for sales guys to thank us, it's the game changer in the industry. We only have one request, Carl. How do you expand worldwide tomorrow? Because we all want to leverage
you to help you do it.
Tony, that is the best ad ever, mate. That's this is better than an infomercial, Tony. You've sold it.
It is what it is, mate.
Is that I like the events too. I mean, it's the organisers do very well out of it, but so do the entertainers, mate. A lot of the people I'm working with at the moment, I mean, we're streaming events, you know, whether they are charity or whether they're awards nights or whatever. And everything seems to work fine, but what's really hard is the entertainment. I mean, it's like playing tennis with yourself, mate. It's just not the same. It's wonderful to have some warm bodies in front of you. It's hard to make chairs laugh, mate. You know, so organisers and entertainers get a lot out of the live events, but this really is the future. The people I'm working with, they don't see this as a temporary fix. They genuinely believe that events, including fundraising events, will eventually mostly look like this.
Well, we still want everybody to have fun, but I think this is a good way of incorporating it into your work day.
Yep.
Don't worry. When we'll have a big corporate executive meetings for good dinner, and you can be the opening act. Sorry, Carl.
Yeah, no, you know what, Maddie? That's exactly it, because we've got to have a big celebration. I know Maddie, Lily, Liv, and the team, they're all looking forward to the Christmas party. I mean, it should be a big come together with a few of our key clients like you, and get Starlight together and get Vince to host it, and everyone wins, literally. And that's a great idea.
Yeah,
but I think the best part for us as well is that, you know, and I know you're about to throw to Andrew, but you know, I think it's Andrew that we're about to throw to. But we were discussing just before this call about the outcomes of some of these meetings. Has there been, you know, are we just throwing money at meetings just for, you know, a couple of sales guys to have a chat? But and I know you're about to touch on that, Carl, but I think that's been the most exciting thing for us as a vendor, is to see that these executives who are pledging their time are doing it genuinely to meet people with solutions that they need. They're not taking meetings just for the sake of throwing some money at a charity. Everybody is really benefiting out of this.
Yeah. It totally is, and this is, do you know what? I live in Rushcutters Bay, and I walk on the park in the morning, and I'm glowing inside because I know that there's meetings taking place today. Just one, and 18 sick kids are going to get the benefit from that. That's a great way to wake up in the morning. Tell you what,
as long as you're not glowing on the outside.
Ready break. Remember those adverts?
Do you think we can sell this idea to the Prime Minister? All the premiers and the Prime Minister should be having a meeting. They should be meeting right now and chipping in their 45 minutes.
Do you know what, Vince? We had to get over some pretty big hurdles in the beginning when we were going with Starlight and talking about the partnership, because we had to convince people it wasn't a bribe. We had to convince people it wasn't. And I know Louise Baxter, the CEO of Starlight, she actually spoke to the finance minister, and it was deemed a marketing what's it called, a CRM, a cause-related marketing contribution. So it's a beautiful win. And literally, you know, I'm from Nottingham, Vince, where Robin Hood comes from. So all we're doing is taking the money off the corporates and giving it to the charities.
Yeah, the finance. Matthias Coleman probably couldn't figure out a way of taxing it. That's why he didn't like it.
Kylie, Tony, bless you. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you.
We are super
so
grateful.
much.
And we're going to bring in, I think, Andrew now, because who else we got out there? We've got all these people in the wings, Vince. Hold on. Let me try and work this out. Paul, you're gone. Elle, you can stay there. Kylie, you're gone.
Hey, guys. Thank you.
Nice
to meet you, Vince.
See you, Tony.
See you, Tony. Everyone, mate. Right, so we're going to bring it. So, Vince, Andrew's a very close friend of mine. I've known him for 20-odd years when we were getting drunk at the cricket. He used to work for a bank, and we sold him some technology, and we just kept in touch for so long. He's been our #1 supporter across all. In fact, he's taken more meetings. Ugly bugger. He's taken more meetings. Tell you what, smack with the ugly stick he has as well, hasn't he?
Thanks, Carl.
We love it. He's been our biggest supporter, Vince, and you know, Andrew can see it from the other side of the fence, from all the vendors. How many phone calls would you get a day, Andrew?
Oh, look, it's not just phone calls, as you know, Carl. I mean, I would get probably, 20 or 30, sometimes up to 40 people coming through different channels. So it's, it's people cold calling on the phone. It's people coming, messaging me on LinkedIn. It's people sending me emails. It's, there's still some, letters occasionally coming through that, coming in hard format through your traditional mail. And really with no context, they're just bits of paper or email chains of words. They're not personalized. They're, there's a lot of them. You can't possibly get through them all. And they're of all different grades. I mean, if you're in a senior executive role in a big company like this, then you have to really look at the quality of what it is that you're engaging with. So, if you're talking about a 3-person consultancy that's a no-name and they're trying to pitch you, you can't, unless they've got something that's innovative and new, and I'm certainly open to giving, startups a go, but unless they've got something that's really different, then you're not going to put your risks there. You want to talk to people that have something behind what they're doing. So companies like Netscope, for example, they've obviously got, products that are in that Gartner quadrant. There's something that's reliable, they're tested. And then these people come through and, and when they come and see you, they come in there and they take the time to understand your business. They take your time to understand what your needs are. And you come in, you have meaningful meetings, and we're talking about this, not so long ago, where the very first meeting I had with this, we after we signed essentially $1 million deal, and off the back of that, there was another 4 of them right across the group in other divisions because it's such a large company. Wow. And this is what happens in conglomerates, And since then, I have taken a lot more meetings. And I would say probably, 70% of them are leading to some sort of outcome. Some of them bigger, some of them smaller. But at the end of the day, still something that's, engaged those vendors into something meaningful. And, the other important thing to say is, and I don't say yes to every single meeting. I mean, yes, I've done a lot of them, but there are ones where I just say, look, you're not a good fit. You're the wrong size, or you're immature, or you're something we just don't need. We don't want to waste people's time. And the other thing is that I tend to find is that they bring in people to talk to you that are their A team, not their B team. A lot of your cold calls, unfortunately, your B and C teams are there. They're doing, call after call after call. They've got no context. They're just hoping you say more than 4 words so they can try and string into a sentence that turns into a meeting. That's not useful. That's not helping anyone. So
you want to get right to the person who's going to push the money button.
Absolutely.
You don't want to waste time with these other hanger-oners.
That's right, exactly. And it's the same, to be honest, also with negotiation. Like, I don't want to talk to the guy who has to go through 7 layers of approval to get, a discount on an enterprise deal. I want to get to the people in front of me.
You can sack that guy.
That's right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, and generally, through this process, that's what we get. We get the people that can make the decisions, that can do things that are for the benefit of the partnership.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
I'm meeting you for the first time here, Andrew. Now, either that mirror behind you is very high up the wall, or you're about 1.5 meters tall. I can't tell from this. It's very strange. There.
Yeah, I'm actually 6'2", so I actually have to crouch down to sort of get the right angle here. So.
That's a very tall mirror. Is that a mirror behind you?
It is a mirror. It is a mirror.
It's giant.
I mean, everyone's really obviously interested in this mirror. Every time on a call, everyone talks about the mirror. So I may have to at some point change the angle of how I do these things. But there you go.
You must have had some fun, Vince, with these calls, with these video calls. It must have been a lot of. You must have seen some things.
You see some strange things, things that maybe you shouldn't see, things that should be never seen. But I think all of Australia's become a little bit of a voyeur. We're all looking into each other's homes and seeing what books they've got on their shelves and what's happening in their kitchen and their decor. Some of them are dull as dishwater, I might add. Like some of the offices we've been beaming into on our awards presentations. There's some.
What's in all your folders behind you there, Vince? Are they just all your old set lists, or what's going on there?
Oh, that's probably just unpaid invoices, I think.
I noticed you've got a top secret document briefcase there behind you, so there's obviously some, quality stuff in there.
You know, I'll tell you what. That's got a story. That briefcase. That I got that from the Footy Show. It was and there was $1 million cash in that. They were just using it for a prop, obviously, and obviously the money wasn't real. But someone figured out you could put $1 million cash in $100 bills inside that suitcase. So
wow.
They thought I could have it after the show, empty, of course. But
was that the cracker fat thing? Was that the cracker fat? Remember the cracker fat on the Footy Show?
I can't remember the competition, but yes, it was one of their competitions.
Yeah, right. And you're a big footy fan, aren't you, Vince? I mean, you'll be watching the game tomorrow night.
Oh, I can't wait! I'm a big Parramatta Eels fan, and up there in the Broncos, who we flogged 58-0 in the semi-final last year, and always a bit of banter between New South Wales and Queensland. And if you're watching Anastasia Palaszczuk, open the gates for God's sake! It's cold down here. Let us in.
Isn't it the Eels are only at the top of the ladder though because it took a pandemic to get them there?
Yeah, well, they decided to stop the competition when we're leading after 34 years. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Do you know, I want to try and work out while we're on this call, because we've got to get Andrew here is really quite a big achievement for us, because Andrew's a very busy boy. So Vince and Andrew together, how could we go to corporate Australia and say, give us 45 minutes? What would be? I've been so close to this for 3 years. I'm struggling with trying to find the right words for this. I tell the team the same thing. I can never find the right words to say to an exec, give us 45 minutes. Without,
well, I don't know about you, Andrew, but from my point of view, execs like to see outcomes. So I think some of the stories we're hearing about how profitable these engagements have been, that's an easy sell as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and from my point of view, I guess when times do change and things get a bit more back to normal, is utilising some of those more traditional sort of events to say, where you've got the executives in the room, those Trans-Tasman lunches, the footy lunches, everything else that goes on, to say, hey, you've got 200 execs in a room, and make sure you get in there to get that 5-minute pitch to say, hey, 45 minutes, get on board with this. I mean, you got to get to that audience, because it doesn't matter all the channels you're using at the moment, you're still having to go through executive assistants and all sorts of other buffers to get the message across. And so it's really back to that face-to-face contact and trying to get people on board. And I think that will happen in time, obviously.
I'm going to bring in
the other end, Carl. Sorry for interrupting, mate. I think it really helps at all fundraising events to see some of the results to the people we're giving the money to. I mean, seeing some of these Starlight kids, a fly on the wall with some of their engagement with your good people, and hearing some positive stories. I mean, every time we do a live auction or a fund or a pledging section at a live event, we always soften up the crowd with some stories. So
that's true.
I think maybe more of that in this in these presentations.
And the whole Aboriginal side of it as well, because I know Starlight do a lot in the Aboriginal community. And so we've actually worked out a way to introduce what we're doing to help the Aboriginal communities. But not only that, but to also help corporate Australia. They've got this thing called the Reconciliation Action Plan. It's called a RAP. I love rapping. But a very close friend of mine, and I've known Neil for a long time. I'm going to bring him in here. Where is he? So Neil belongs to the country's very first Queensland-based company. And what they do is they've got all these different vendors like Kylie and Tony. And every time a meeting takes place, not only does it support Starlight, but it also supports Aboriginal kids. Neil, meet Vince. You're very dark there, mate.
Hello, Neil.
Is the clouds out?
With you, mate.
When you're lit from behind, mate, you always look dark. It's a.
I thought you just didn't pay your power bill.
It's a lovely sunny day up here.
So Neil, just give us a quick minute about Biden and what you guys are doing, because I know we've had a couple of meetings that we've set up with you, and they've been amazing.
They have, mate. Yeah, we've been a big supporter. Slightly different perspective to Tony and Andrews, that we are indeed a reseller of technology like Netscope and like some of the other vendors that have got behind supporting us. And I've personally found the meetings incredibly valuable and to the point. And it has certainly helped us as a reasonably new business, 18 months old, driving this social cause for us around being the first certified national Indigenous business to the economy. And we essentially have got a strong focus on making sure that we drive diversity and inclusion within our sector, from the recognition that there is a very little representation for First Nations people.
But get this, Vince. Get this. The government can buy off them without even going to market. It's like they can achieve their goals without even doing all the work.
Quite honestly, I didn't know Starlight was involved with the Indigenous communities. What sort of things does Starlight do for the Indigenous people?
So just to give you a bit of an idea, we have a program called our Healthier Futures program where Captain Starlight goes out to different healthcare facilities in community. So a lot of the time kids of all races and backgrounds are afraid of doctors at the best of times. But when it's people coming into a community that doesn't often interact with that kind of person in their community, it can be pretty scary. So by bringing in somebody whose main focus is on light, laughter, magic, music, all of the things that resonate with our beautiful Indigenous children, it just helps that transition into that healthcare unit. And it's making them not afraid and, kind of destroying that fear factor and getting kids in to get their ear, nose and throat checks and all of that kind of thing. And we're also in the Darwin Hospital and also in Alice Springs as well with our Starlight Express room. So we're very, very lucky, and how poignant that today is actually the first day of Reconciliation Week. So it's great that we're having this conversation right now.
It is indeed, yeah.
Have you done much in that space, Vince? You've been up to the Northern Territory.
I have. I've done some work for hospitals up there, particularly the Humpty Dumpty Foundation, which buys a lot of hospital equipment. And obviously, the need is great everywhere, but there are obviously more disadvantaged communities in the Northern Territory. So look, it's a very good. I've seen firsthand the good that money can bring to those areas.
And what Neil's doing with the Biden thing is incredible. Every time a meeting takes place, and we know that the good thing is when the government buys some of the technology that Neil sells, a percentage of that profit goes to supporting Aboriginal kids in educating them, which is really cool. So they're spending money.
That is brilliant.
It's almost like what we've got here is this brand. I call it an altruistic based approach to selling, because it really is. The old way, Vince, you'd turn up and you'd vomit your product and you'd say, here's what I do and buy some of my stuff. Well, now it's all about having a heart-to-heart connection, and it's doing good at the same time. Our mate Peter Baines, as you know very well, he always says to me, it's okay to do good by doing good.
Hey, I'll support that. Look, as I said earlier on, it not only gives you a good feeling when you know you're doing good, but I do well out of it. I mean, more people get to see me at charity. Good people go to charity events too. I might make that point as well. And some of the bigger ones that I do, I've known these people for many years. So much work, so much real work. Well, not that this isn't real work, but so much paid work comes out of it as well. Because people, people like the fact that you're helping other people out. It makes you feel good. You get more work. It's win, 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 win.
It's beautiful, Vince. Now, I've got to thank you so much for helping us support us and get the word out.
Oh, thank you for this, mate. This is nothing. I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to help you guys out.
We're really, really grateful. And that's the website there. I can't even point to it. Neil, can you point to that Meeting for Good website? Can you do it right there? Yeah. That's where the execs can sign up. If they're watching it, all they've got to do is log on and they can pledge their 45 minutes. It can't be that hard. 45 minutes in front of the laptop and 18 sick kids get access to the Starlight room.
Couldn't be easier.
Andrew, Neil, Elle, bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
we'll wrap it up. I had your wife pop up in a minute there, Vince. She popped in. Kate,
Did she?
Is it Kate Sorrenti? She was just in backstage there. I was about to add her to the screen.
Oh, please don't! He's scaring me.
Hey, everybody, thank you very much for your help and for your time. And we'll come, Vince. I'm going to come and say thank you properly to you. And good luck to Paris.
You don't need to thank me, mate. This is give my regards to Captain Starlight and all the kids.
Thank you. Woohoo! Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for being part of this today.
That number needs to get to 1 million, and we can only do that if we get 1,000 execs signing up on that platform.
That's it. 1,000 people with 45 minutes to spare. Surely it can't be that hard.
But 25 million in the country. Surely we can find 1,000 that are like. We can't find 1,000 like Andrew because he's special. But we can find 1,000 that are just a little bit less.
Sounds good to me.
Andrew, we love you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for your time. Very grateful.
Thanks, Carl.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.